Hello, Assalamu alaikum. In this video, we will understand about the active transport in cell. What is active transport? Remember, it requires the energy for the movement of ions. So here is sodium and sodium move outside from higher concentration to lower concentration without ATP, but inhibit this process through ATP to against the osmotic gradients. Like active transport is the movement of molecule ions from lower concentration to higher concentration against the osmotic gradients by the using of energy like ATP. Primary active transport first we will discuss, then we will understand the secondary active transport. Let's understand about the primary active transport. In this way, the sodium and potassium channel we will understand the sodium and potassium gated channel. So the requirement of the sodium gated channel ATP is important for the opening of this gate. And in this way, the transmembrane ATPase enzyme used to hydrolyze this ATP into ADP, and the sodium gated channel will open. Against the osmotic gradient, the sodium will move. Like sodium will move outside, but already sodium concentration more in the outer extracellular space rather than the intracellular space. So this is the potassium sodium pump. It's important example of the nerve impulse and the depolarization of the cell. In this way, the potassium will exchange by this mechanism. The potassium outside is concentration less as compared to the inside of the cell, and in this way the potassium will move into the cell by the using of ATP. And single ATP can be used to trigger the both channel opening, and in this way the two sodium will move inside. This exchange of the ion will lead to change the charge, like the sodium go outside to more positive, but the potassium will move inside will lead to negative charge, and this charge will again reverse. Reversion of the sodium and potassium not required ATP. Let's understand about the primary active transport in mitochondria and chloroplast. So in mitochondria first, the reduction of NADPH, the redox reaction will lead to redox energy pump out the proton outer matrix of the mitochondria rather than the inner matrix, and in this way the already concentration of the proton more acidic medium, and in this the NADH dehydrogenase enzyme will lead to pump out the proton in the mitochondrial channel like protein. So in this way the inner matrix here and the outer. So for the chloroplast, light energy required for the transport of the proton from a lower concentration to the higher concentration. Anyhow, this is the NADH or FADH2 used for the pump out of the proton is known as redox energy. This reduction of the NADH will lead to oxidize to produce this mechanism the proton pump out. Like outer matrix, here is you can see the light used to photolysis of water lead to produce electron, proton will pump out and produce oxygen, and in this way basically the NADPH will be formed again by the using of NADH. This is a further process we will not understand in this video. So the type of primary active transport can be four. The P-type ATPase channel like sodium potassium pump, calcium pump and proton pump, as you know in the previous diagram. Number 2 is F-ATPase, the mitochondrial ATP synthase enzyme, and chloroplast ATPase. So the FATPase, the mitochondrial ATP synthase enzyme, and chloroplast ATPase use. VATPase is the vacuolar ATPase, and ABC ATP binding cassette, and the transporter MBR, CFTR, etc. Let's understand about the secondary active transport. It is also known as the co-transporter. After this, we will understand the disease, but first we will understand the secondary active transport, the co-transporter. The co-transporter channel is important, and in this way, the other molecule or ion required for the movement of the real cation or anion or molecule. The special example is the gastrointestinal tract, the epithelial cell. This is the intestine and the epithelial cell intracellular space. And in this way, the co-transport, in this way, the glucose and the uniporter channel required the glucose move inside via ATP use. But the glucose required the sodium or proton for symport transport. It is known as the symporter channel, and the ATP used to symport. While the exchange of the sodium and the glucose, sodium move higher concentration to the lower, while the glucose move lower concentration to the higher concentration, required the ATP through GLUT1 channel is the antiporter. In this way, the one molecular ion will move from higher concentration to the lower, and the other will also lower to higher concentration. So remember this exchange. One is lower to higher and other is higher to lower. Bulk transport is the another example of the active transport in cell. In this way, the food particle can be endocytosed, is known as endocytosis, and in this way you can see this is the enfolding of the membrane, plasma membrane of the cell will lead to endocytosis. This process is known as endocytosis. Lysozyme enzyme used for the food particle to digest it by the using of ATP and enzyme, and the digestion will lead to exocytosis through ATP into the blood circulatory system is known as exocytosis. And this exocytosis is the best example the endocrine hormone like glucagon, insulin, and growth hormone. On the other hand, the adrenaline and noradrenaline, a lot of hormone, and steroid, as well as neurotransmitter. But this is the food after digestion to exocytosis, but this is another. But here is the neurotransmitter. This neurotransmitter and hormones and other will trigger via a calcium ATP dependent channel through active transport to exocytosis of the this vesicle to release the neurotransmitter is known as exocytosis. So the bulk transport can be divided into endocytosis and exocytosis, two types. In this way, the endocytosis contain pinocytosis and phagocytosis. Pinocytosis is the liquid particle will move into the cell, while the phagocytosis is the solid particle. Bulk transport can be neurotransmitter, hormone, steroids, or other regulators like autocrine and paracrine, as well as the endocrine glandular cell. Anyhow, let's understand about the active transport in cell. Disease. So the disease due to active transport disturbance. And in the next video, we will understand of all type of the disease, all with a briefly this disease. Basically, we will understand one by one in the next video. So this is basically for understanding the disease due to active transport. The Liddle's disease, Liddle syndrome, and long QT syndrome, hyperkalemic periodic paralysis, cystic fibrosis, myotonia congenita, and nephrogenic diabetes insipidus, glucose, galactose, malabsorption, and cystinuria, and the Wilson's disease. We will understand in the next video about this disease all one by one with a separate video. I hope you make sense about that. If you like my video, please make sure to subscribe, like, and share. See you in the next video. For this time, bye.